Okay, so when I want to import anything, I can just say File. Last time we imported out of the image directory and we took individual images. This time I'm going from the source images, and there's that Adobe Illustrator file. Okay, and I say Open, and I already did it once, so I can get rid of it, but I have it twice now. All right, so what I'm going to do is just going to bring it down into the composition, and I'm going to place it right here. Now, the software by default is going to place everything at 0 at the first frame. So you're going to want to move it to where you want it to be. And when we get here, we have that, okay? So what I'd like to do, I'm going to open up in the composition window here my tools. Little odd thing about After Effects. There's my pivot point here. Let's see what happens if I rotate this. Right now it's going to rotate around the pivot point, and that's not bad. That's kind of what I want it to do. I can actually move that pivot point, and you have to use the pan behind anchor point tool, which is, I have no idea, honest to God, what that means. I really don't. But that's the way you move the pivot point. And it's a little tool up here, a little icon up here. The pan behind anchor point tool. Now the only difference is then it's just going to rotate from that point. Okay. So I like that a little better. I'm going to move this over just a little bit. Rotate. Okay. So I can get this to come like this. That makes sense to y'all? All right, so how do we do this? All right, so I'm going to start here, and I'm going to set a keyframe for the rotation at that position at the start. And then I'm going to go move downstream a little bit. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking at what the arm is doing. So there's really the point where the flexion has reached its max. I mean, it actually is going to go all the way up to there, but I'm going to take advantage of it right there. Okay. Now, the reason I want to point this out to you is this is what I was trying to explain to a couple of you individually in the lab. The hardest thing, or the biggest mistake you can make in animation, is trying to change multiple things simultaneously. What you want to do is get one thing through as much as possible through the entire production, and then make everything else change relative to that. So typically you want to pick your primary motion, your primary focus, have that animate. The hardest thing for me to do is ignore the fact that I want to do some other things while I'm doing that. And what I'll do is I'll change 2 or 3 things, and Tess and I were talking about this the other day. The problem when you do that is you run into a problem, a mistake, and you don't know which one of the variables you just changed caused the mistake. Secondly, you need a consistent reference. We don't have yet, and we will in the last assignment. One of the big assistants for that is sound, narration. So you can actually pace your animation in relationship to what's being said or what music is being played. Okay? We need always, as much as possible, to have some type of reference. And in this case, this arm is going to be my reference. So this is about where I want that. I'm sorry, I had to move. This is about where I wanted that to be. So I'm going to take this then to the other extreme, if you will. Okay, and again, because I set a keyframe in the beginning, it automatically said, okay, you've changed that value, so I'm going to set another keyframe. So now I have this animation that will go as the arm goes. Okay?